Welcome. Today we talk about energy. Energy has become a massive challenge for South Africa, not only for agriculture, but for the rest of the economy. With me today is Kyle. Kyle, welcome.
Thank you, Theo. It's great to be talking energy.
Yes, let's start off with, in the agriculture sector, what are you seeing?
So we're seeing a couple of challenges. Obviously, load shedding is the primary crisis. I mean, we really have an energy crisis. But even before load shedding, we started seeing in agriculture our customers really becoming affected by things like power outages, completely unplanned. You know, some of our customers even told us, I mean, the wind just blows a little bit and suddenly the power goes out. I mean, that's got huge interruption to your business. So you're effectively kind of held at ransom to unplanned outages. So those are kind of the two challenges which we call energy certainty, really. Then energy cost. I mean, it's probably the fastest growing kind of expense item in any farmer's business is electricity cost. So you've got the situation that you've got no control of that, or very little control, let's put it that way. And then finally, you've got this kind of growing challenge, particularly if you're starting to export to the likes of Europe into those supply chains. You know, your customers overseas are starting to ask questions around your carbon footprint, etc. So that's another kind of a big element, and that's starting to become local as well. So within our big retailers, they're starting to ask those kind of same questions.
So you're sitting in a position where reliability, cost, and demands from your customer. Where's the solutions? What can farmers do?
So we're seeing our customers really approach energy, firstly starting to bring energy into their strategy. So saying, I can no longer just rely on government to look after my energy needs as a business, so I need to start internalizing that as part of my strategy. So the first thing they're starting to do is really start thinking about energy from a cost perspective. So the first thing is a lot of our customers already started investing in solar PV generation, really the cheapest cost electricity that you can get as a business. The second one is really relying on the likes of Eskom or the municipality, still the second cheapest that you've got. The third is really starting to bring in battery storage. Now we're starting to talk about reliability of power, what we like to call independence or resilience, and that's a lot cheaper than a diesel generator. Then finally, a lot of our customers have not moved off diesel generators and are still incorporating them in their wider energy solutions. So you're really approaching storage, for example, and saying, I believe that for stage 4, I should be prepared and I'll install batteries or a storage solution that covers that off, and then I'll rely on generators beyond that. So really starting to think about energy, again, in a very strategic way and making sure that energy is incorporated into their future kind of capex plans.
You talk about capex. This has a cost element to it. It's got a capital cost, it's got a maintenance cost. Your view?
So it's got a big capital cost. I mean, we're seeing our customers spend anywhere, from 150,000 Rand, for that home office to in excess of 100 million Rand for really large business operations, large farming operations. So, our customers need to be kind of prepared and have their mindset right about that capex investment. So realizing that it's a long-term investment, it's going to have a lifespan of between, kind of 20 to 30 years. Obviously, there's going to be some maintenance of battery replacements around about year 10 to year 16, and then obviously some operational maintenance, cleaning, etc. that kind of comes into it. So you need to realize that this is another facet of your business that you need to manage appropriately and have the right kind of tender and procurement processes as part of that.
Now, obviously, from a funding perspective, there's a risk involved in any funding, not only for the provider of the finance, but obviously for the farmer who's using this finance to make this capital investment. In terms of the discussion with his Fnb representative, his account manager, how would that discussion typically go, and what can one expect of that?
So in our world, I mean, that conversation is exceptionally positively received. So our bankers and our frontline managers are really understanding of this energy crisis and what it means. They're bringing in, from an energy perspective, we've got a full understanding of what that solar PV system is going to bring from a cost-saving perspective. We also bring in that understanding of looking at what the diesel fuel savings are going to be, and really being able to package the financing offer with that in mind and in line with that kind of capex requirement that we were chatting about earlier.
What for me is interesting, it's almost like there's a feeding frenzy. The same guys that a number of years ago were specialists in COVID, then they were specialists in the Ukraine war, they now all into the solar energy space. And the question for me is how do you make sure that you get the right, reliable supplier as opposed to somebody that will not be there in 3, 4, or 5 years' time?
So, I mean, we're seeing this. We're seeing all kinds of kind of new entrants into this market, to put it kind of very diplomatically. I think the first thing any person looking at doing solar needs to do is chat to their bank. As a bank, we see a large amount of projects. We see kind of everything in the market, and we're really well geared to give you some guidance on really what to look out for. But I think some kind of high-level tips that I could give is, chat to the reference list. So ask that supplier for a reference list and actually call those references. That is, for me, I mean, the first one. The second one is actually making sure the Eskom and municipal processes are covered off. If those are not covered off, that's normally a sure sign that there's some kind of an issue in the background. So making sure that you are getting the Eskom representative's number or the municipality's representative's number, and actually giving them a call and finding out a little bit more. And then finally, actually doing a site visit. That also gives you a good indication of who you're dealing with as a supplier. And really a good tender process, at least 2 or 3 different quotations. And finally, run those quotations past the bank. We're more than happy to help in deciphering, kind of the differences for you.
Kyle, thank you very much. I think that's sound advice, sound, practical advice that you can implement. From me, Theo Vorster, good day.